All right, everybody, welcome back to Beans No Ball here for the week 17 recap. 17 weeks have come and gone. We still got, I believe, 3 or 4 playoff spots open, so a lot to get into, a lot to get ready for. So I'm gonna get to open this one up once again, since the way the games line up. Christian's gonna have to go second again, so I'll open this up with Thursday night,
Yeah.
and definitely a really good game here with the Jets and the Browns. I mean, we expected this outcome for sure, but I mean, hey, the Jets defense showed why they're known to be one of the top defenses, and they gave Joe Flacco fits. We know how much of a little gunslinger Flacco tries to be. He did get his interception as expected,
Yeah.
but I mean, still 3 touchdowns, two that one interception. 300 yards. I mean, still just a phenomenal game himself. I mean, there's just the Browns offense as a whole was clicking. Obviously, we see David Njoku, once again, still, being one of the more prominent tight ends in the league, cracking
He's
100
probably going to
yards for
be
himself.
probably one of Flacco's targets coming to playoffs. So that's going to be
Oh yeah, most
it's
definitely.
going to be a key duo to come into, especially in the wild card, with how stacked this AFC is.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, looking in for the Jets, I mean, sure, like what we were saying, they're just out here playing for just playing for morals, I guess. But I mean, Brees Hall, I mean, we know how good he was last season until his injury. He's still showing those flashes, and I mean, going into next year, I think the Jets really have a lot to build off of. But I mean, hey, first time since 2020, the Browns are back in the playoffs. Big win for them, and this is a team that can definitely make a lot of noise.
Yeah, really, this Browns team we can really go far. But my only concern with this Browns team is just Joe Flacco and those interceptions, man. Sure, he's been doing great, but he's gonna really have to, rely on not turning the ball over, especially, if come point in time where you would have to face the Ravens defense, it's gonna be a hard time for him. So that's really my main concern for Joe Flacco, just containing those interceptions. Now moving on to my game, which was, got my blood pressure, skyrocketing through the roof. So, let's just get through this. Once again, this was another stellar performance from Dak Prescott. Really leading this team down the field when it really mattered. And obviously, this game should have been a blowout if I want to be realistic. I mean, the overthrow to Cooks, the fumble in the end zone, the interception, and just the mistakes we were doing, it should have been 21-3 at least by halftime. Because defense was playing lights out. I was having a spectacular game. Dan Quinn was he was calling some great plays. I'm still annoyed about the soft coverage when it comes to crunch time. I know me and you, we've already had this little discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know
I mean,
your Rams.
I know this was a nah, sorry, yeah, but this was obviously, I
Yeah.
mean, like you just said, we kind of got into talking about that right away. It was something that, I mean, like what you just said, the Rams always seem to have issues with this, and I mean, at least it has come to bite the Rams a little more. Thankfully for you, the Cowboys actually, got it done right at the end, which I'm sure you're gonna get a lot to talk about for that
Yeah,
final
I
play
mean,
right now.
yeah, I mean, this whole game I think it was just offensively miscued, man. I mean, the play calling of McCarthy, it was just like, it was weird. It wasn't, especially at home. We put up nearly 40 points at home, and the offense was just committing so many mistakes. I mean, sure, I defend Dak Prescott a lot, but some mistakes, overthrowing the ball, not throwing the ball where we need to, underthrowing the ball. He's making a little bit of mistakes here and there, but obviously, he picks it up and he goes, he moves on for that. CeeDee Lamb, man. CeeDee Lamb, I think it's safe to say, he's already in the top 3 conversation. He's been in the top 3 receiver conversation this season. He's just having a spectacular year, man. I mean, 2 records already: most receiving yards in Cowboys history, most reception yards in Cowboys history. And then bro just got a random drug test out of nowhere. So obviously that connection with Dak and CeeDee is going to be, very, very important, when it comes to playoffs. And then obviously, let's talk about, the end of the game. The illegal touching, illegal formation, whatever you want to call that. I don't know what Dan Quinn was doing. That's where the soft coverage came up, where I was getting pretty annoyed. They just drove down the field and scored on us, man. Like, what the hell is going on? And Micah's still not getting calls. That's still unacceptable. Micah's still not getting some holding calls. He was getting held a lot that game. I was reviewing some clips, some pictures. It clearly showed. Now, obviously, where everyone's looking at this, the illegal touching, with the whole 70 eligible, 68 not eligible. I mean, it was clear as day. You know, we talked about it already. This was pretty much the Lions' fault. You know, if you read 70, if you heard a 70 eligible, you should have corrected it. If not, but regardless, you know,
we can't give it all on the Lions in all honesty. But they were the ones that let it happen at the end of it. Because I mean, you know, like we said, it's on the ref for not getting the call right. But you know, once the Lions hear that the call was wrong, that's on you to actually, you know, alert them. I mean, you know, we talked about, you know, they didn't have timeouts. It makes it a little harder, but I mean, still, you gotta hear what the ref said. You gotta make the call there.
Yeah, and regardless, it still would have been illegal formation from the way number 68 he was set up on the line. So they called it illegal touching, but it still would have been illegal formation regardless. But I mean, this game as a whole, Cowboys still finished out. We still managed to get this win. I still have, you know, a little bit of concerns, especially, you know, coming in close to this game at home. So little concerns there, which, you know, I would obviously talk about, you know, once come playoff time, we'll probably have a video up there. But regardless, still, you know, a last minute win from this Cowboys team, and, you know, a lot on the line next week.
Or it's just, now we'll wait and see. If, I mean, you're probably gonna have a home playoff game because of another result that we just got into, but just wait and see what happens there. And of course, move it into the Sunday slate, and this is a bit of a surprise. I mean, it became a little closer than we probably thought, but I mean, the score was closer than the game really was. I mean, sure, we know right away. I forget who it was, but the Patriots did take the opening kick all the way back. You kind of started thinking,
it was Jalen
Reagor. Regular.
It was Jalen Reagor,
would this be a repeat of the first Patriots Bills matchup? And obviously, right away we'll think they ended up pulling out a 20-0 victory, 20-0 lead for a good while. And I mean, pretty much, you know, what you expected from the Bills. I mean, as of late, I mean, maybe the defense becomes a little more concerned. I mean, I get it's maybe, I mean, the touchdown in the fourth quarter, more of a garbage time, but probably would have wanted to win by a little more. But I mean, I wouldn't say too many concerns, just because, I mean, hey, you know, you got 3 interceptions, so, you know, you give some, you lose some. But I mean, at the end of the day, just a win the Bills needed obviously sets up a very enticing Week 17 matchup that we will obviously get into later. But
that's where another, you know, like you said, Week 17, which we talked about, that they are playing the Dolphins. That's another thing concern we would want to go into, which, you know, we will. But, you know, struggling against this New England Patriots team, where they've been on a decline all season, and, you know, Josh Allen, you know, I mean, sure, I'm not a box score warrior by all means, but I mean, looking at that against this Patriots team, I mean, you kind of want to drop some concern for Josh Allen, especially, you know, for them having a rise and needing to win now, especially for a better seeding position to come to this playoff team.
You could also probably think, I mean, it comes into, I mean, could also, you know, you were maybe overlooking the Patriots a little bit. I mean, clearly that's what happened a couple weeks ago, and you would have thought they would have learned from it, but I mean, well, they got the win, so at the end of the day, that is what matters.
Yeah, regardless of all, you know, Bills still closed it out. Sure, it may be an ugly win, but, you know, ugly wins happen in this league. But obviously, all they need is just pick it up and go from there. And now moving on to the next game, which, you know, should be something nice to talk about from what we talked about for a bit. The Chicago Bears, they really got to Atlanta here, and they got out with this victory. And, you know, this is starting to show, you know, better signs for Justin Fields too. Hopefully be the starting quarterback next season, which we did talk about earlier last week about him keeping him. You know, this win was nice. Justin Fields, like you said, we talked about this again not that long ago, you know, coming off his injury, he's been playing great. Obviously, you know, his passing still a little, you know, iffy here and there, couple missteps here and there, but regardless, it's such a huge improvement to how he was in his past couple seasons since he's been with the Bears. He's been fighting for his job. I know I've pointed that out a couple times already. He's fighting for his job, and, you know, hopefully the Bears don't draft the quarterback, because really, they don't need to draft the quarterback at all. Justin Fields, he's starting to look like their guy again. He just needs his weapons. GG Moore, I think he had some career high sets with the Bears this season, touchdowns, receiving yards, and I believe receptions. I could be wrong with one of the three, but regardless, he'd set up some season highs with the Bears, and it's looking great. That combination with Fields and DJ Moore, Justin Fields, he just needs a little bit more training, you know, a little, I would say, mentorship to him, his passing ability to be a little bit great. Mix that in with this running. I mean, look at Lamar. He's becoming a better passer, great rusher. Same thing could happen with Justin Fields, and he could really, you know, I would say he could, you know, has potential to turn this Bears franchise around. Looking at it from these past couple of games, he just needs help around his team, and that's exactly what the Chicago Bears did. Team, they have a young defense as well. Obviously, acquiring Montez Sweat from the trade against Washington, I would say that kind of boosted their defense just a little bit more of a morale boost from how great their defense has been playing these past couple of weeks. As for Atlanta, still a lot of concerns to draw. You know, their quarterback position. I mean, Taylor Heineke, he was like okay, you know, towards like the second half, I guess, kind of to bring it back. But obviously, you know, it wasn't enough. Justin Fields still carried this Bears team. So Atlanta's like one of those teams where you want to draw some high concern for how, you know how reluctant they've been this past couple seasons of not being able to succeed after Matt Ryan leaving.
Yeah, obviously, I mean, you know, just like, you know, what I've been saying, you know, you got a generational wide receiver talent in Marvin Harrison Jr. to pair with, you know, you seem like you have all the pieces there for Justin Fields. I keep saying, you know, let him play out his rookie deal. Maybe the only thing would be maybe get a veteran quarterback to work as more of a mentor on his passing side, and you could definitely have something cooking for the Bears in the next couple years. But of course, move it into the Raiders and the Colts, and I'm definitely another little sign of concern for the Colts here. I mean, you definitely expected this game to probably be a lot more of a convincing victory. I mean, you know, we talked about, you know, probably expected Aiden O'Connell to really struggle against, you know, like I've been saying, you know, the Colts defense, they've been sneaky good. I mean, but you know, they're more streaky if you really want to look into it. But I mean, this definitely it's a testament to Antonio Pierce, and you know, he's fighting for his job right now. He's trying to prove that he is the guy to lead the Raiders to get his own, to be able to leave his mark and get you know, drop the interim role and, you know, be the full-time head coach. And I think a performance like this definitely helps. And obviously going into week 18, it's going to be a big factor. But this definitely, I think he makes his case the way he's. I mean, first off, you know, the way he has the locker room in his favor. Just that everything seems perfect for the Raiders right now. And, you know, for the Colts, I mean, sure, you got the win and you're still in contention. I believe they're in that 7th seed right now, but obviously, like you said, you know, we're going to talk about this later, but a week 18 matchup that I'm not really too heavy on the Colts right now. I mean, I love Gardner Minshew. I know we talk about, you know, I love him, but I really don't think he's going to be stacking up. But at the end of the day, you know, we could be wrong, but just a bit of a disappointing win for the Colts here.
Yeah, regardless, this was a convincing game for both teams. I mean, the Raiders, they still played a hard-fought victory against the Indianapolis Colts team that, you know, gets into the team's minds. So, you know, lots on the stake for Antonio Pierce, and then obviously for the Colts with the AFC South in the line, still a couple questions to draw, especially from this Raiders team. And now moving on to the masterclass that I called during Sunday chat that I hopefully called. Kyler Murray, he got it done. He got it done against this Philadelphia Eagles team, and man, I didn't see this game. I had to catch up on some highlights, watch a little bit of, you know, film here and there, but I overslept. But regardless, you know, Kyler Murray got it done, and he helped my Cowboys so much. I would expect Kyler Murray was a Cowboys fan growing up. He is from Texas, so you kind of expect it. But this was a nice victory. This was a nice morale victory for the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, sure, the draft stock might be a little mixed up here or there, but regardless, this was a great morale boost, a great morale win, especially against a top team in the NFC. I mean, we're looking at this. They play the NFC East. They beat the Cowboys and the Eagles, but lost to the Giants and the Commanders. You know, again, this NFL season, it's been weird. Any given Sunday, anything can happen. But regardless of that, you know, Kyler Murray, man, he was getting it done. Freaking little baby Yoda was scrambling everywhere. He was getting it done against this Philadelphia Eagles team. And, you know, like you said, like you called it that one other day, Kyler against this Eagles secondary, man, he pretty much lit them up. Sure, Eagles had the advantage, and I believe in the first half, they were up 21-3, and then Kyler Murray just let this Cardinals team back. James Conner too, man, on the ground and on the air. He was really picking it up for this Cardinals team in the second half, really, you know, getting to Philly's head. Because, sure, I'm not going to put the blame on Jalen Hurts because he is not most of the blame to this. That defense was pretty much letting him down most of the time. But, sure, most can go with Jaylen Brown, the receiving core. Jalen Hurts, Jaylen Brown, AJ Brown with, you know, they weren't picking up in the second half. Sure, a lot can be said there, but the fault shouldn't be too much on Jalen Hurts. Let's be realistic here. But regardless of that, this was a nice hard-fought victory from the Arizona Cardinals. I know Jonathan Gannon against his former team, which, you know, they were already wanting to fire him. You know, getting a little revenge down there. It's nice to see. But the Eagles, still there's lots of concerns to draw come playoff time. I mean, sure, they have a game next week against the Giants, but once again, we will get into, but they're going to have to fix up a lot. Nick Sirianni, he's going to have to make so many adjustments if they don't want to be first-round exits.
Yeah, and we just talked about it. I don't really trust them with whoever ends up winning the South. Probably going to be the Bucks, but it's looking like big cause for concern. And like you said about Kyler, I wish I would have taken him instead of giving you your chance to take him. I mean, exactly like you said. I called a nice performance for him, and lucky for you, that puts the Cowboys right back to the top of the East. Now let's talk about this Rams game. Hey, win's a win. We clinched a playoff spot for the first time, and we took a 1 year hiatus, but we're back in the playoffs. I can't be happy, after all the shit this team took. Expected to be a bottom 3 team in the league, to be back in the playoffs is phenomenal. By midseason I was already losing hope, but just a phenomenal turnaround. But what do we say? This looked like a trap game, and that's exactly what this was. I mean, props to Tyrod Taylor. He played phenomenal. He outplayed Matt Stafford 100%. 319 yards, and split 1 touchdown, 1 interception. But that interception proved to me nothing, because as much as I love him, but I'm not gonna give him too much shit for it. I mean, Demarcus Robinson, that fumbled out, that did hurt. That really did also shift them, give them a chance to get that field goal right before halftime. But I think another key thing in this game, the injuries in this specific game were a big thing. Also offensive tackle Alaric Jackson did have to miss. It was personal reasons. No, not much word, but didn't expect much from Joe Noteboom, but he did come in. He had really good protection on Stafford. Those sacks weren't on him, and he did good in his replacement. I think the big problem on defense was going to be Bobby Brown's absence. I believe in the first quarter he went down and he never did come back. So defense did their job for the most part, but it would have been a much more sound game if we had Brown in there. And talk about the Mason Crosby revenge game. Obviously, the Rams picked him up a couple weeks ago, didn't even let him play a game, and they cut him and let him walk into the Giants. And sure, we only got out of this game because Mason Crosby did miss a 52 yarder, and I'm really happy about that, because obviously special teams is a big concern here, and caught a break on special teams there. But Lucas Havrisik, I know the Rams have had issues ever since we let Matt Gay walk, and thankfully we finally cut Havrisik. Not too excited about bringing back Brett Maher, but at the end of the day, this late in the season, he's familiar with the team, so I feel a lot better. At least Brett Maher makes his kicks under 50 yards, so I'll take that. And think I'm gonna shift into more of the positives, which for sure, a win's a win. But when are we gonna talk about Puka Nacua and Kobe Turner possibly getting a sweep of the Rookie of the Year awards? Sure, I get CJ Stroud, not sure, but look what Puka Nacua is doing. He's gonna break the rookie record. I definitely think he should be more in the conversation of actually winning it, not just being a finalist. And Kobe Turner sneakily, I know the big names were Jalen Carter and Devon Witherspoon, but Kobe Turner is about to. He's leading the league in sacks, so he's definitely got a case. But overall, got a big game next week. Not too excited because of how this game looked, but just put it in the back of the mind and hopefully move on to a better game in Santa Clara.
Yeah, regardless, this is still concerning win for the Rams. You would expect Matthew Stafford to light up this New York Giants team, but Tyrod Taylor, obviously my quarterback, really proved it. So lots of adjustments to make with this Rams team. And now moving on to a battle in the NFC South, which we still don't know who's gonna take the division. And oh boy, our boy Baker, fortunately he did not cook. This New Orleans team, they really got going, early in this game. The Bears. Baker really couldn't go anywhere with the ball. This defense, because look, this defense of the New Orleans Saints, I've been praising them before the season started. They're a very serviceable defense. They're a very good sleeper defense. I know they got a lot of guys.
Makes that Rams win look a little better.
Yeah, it does make the Rams win look a little bit more better without a doubt. With Cam Jordan leading that defense, it's really looking nice. And that New Orleans Saints, now looking with my predictions from the beginning of the season, it is looking a little bit better. The Saints could have a slight shot, especially with Atlanta also losing. But Tampa Bay's still in the mix here. I still believe in Baker with how fascinating he's been doing this season, turning around this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team with the departure of Brady, of him retiring, and a lot of people saying Baker is not the answer. I wouldn't blame them for saying that, but with the great resurgence he had midseason and how he's picking it up for this Washington team, this Tampa Bay team. They still have a great shot at the division. It just all comes down to next week, which we will get into once again. But New Orleans, they really I guess you can say it was a proven win here against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that was on a great resurgence. But still a lot on the line here, and this division is still wide open from how bad these teams are.
Yeah, obviously, like you said, the division is up for grabs. These two probably are the teams that are going to be the ones fighting it out. I mean, if both of them, if the Bucs win, they're in. That's the big thing. But like I said, Baker's been streaky. When was the drop off coming? Unfortunately, they did come against the Saints. Moving on to, I guess, more of an expected result here. The Niners and Commanders. Another great game for Brock Purdy. Not as. You needed this bounce back win after a very disappointing showing. He just bounced back up. Over 200 and 2 touchdowns. This was a win that they needed to get their mind right. A little closer than I expected going into halftime. Niners only up 3, but obviously that second half they put the Commanders in their place, and I guess positive for the Commanders. Season's almost over, and you're probably a little closer to getting Ron Rivera out as head coach, which we've been talking about. He probably should have been out a couple weeks ago, but I understand not wanting to make a midseason coaching move. Probably the only reason he still is the coach right now. But with this win, the 49ers, with this win and the Eagles loss, they do clinch the number 1 seed. So the NFC playoffs run through Santa Clara, and we'll wait and see if anyone can bring them down.
Yeah, obviously this was still a concerning game in the beginning because we watched it was keeping close. But obviously Brock Purdy turned around this Niners team, and since they lock up the 1 seed, hopefully they rest their starters, or if they want to be dickheads and want to knock your Rams out, who knows? We'll just have to wait and see for the next couple of days. Now moving on to another game where this Jacksonville Jaguars team against this Carolina team. This was the win that the Jaguars really needed to pull off, and it did. After having I believe they were on a 5-game losing streak. I don't exactly know the total. Yeah, around there, a really long losing streak in this AFC South, and it's really, really bad since you have the Colts and the Texans who are runner-ups. I believe this whole division is tied up at 9-7, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so this whole division is tied. It's 3-way tie at 9-7 between the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Indianapolis Colts, and the Houston Texans. And by always, it's all going to come down to next week. But this was a win the Jacksonville Jaguars they really needed, especially with the loss of Lawrence. CJ Beathard, he did come in this game, and he did shut out this Carolina Panthers team. Not really much to say since this was a Carolina Panthers team that was struggling, but again, still a professional football team. They're a team in the NFL for a reason, so obviously a team does not get shut out like that. You're a professional team, you're not supposed to get shut out like that. I can speak for a lot of people saying that, but with the way this team is, you kind of expected it. Bryce Young already on the sidelines, he's already fed up. No weapons, no help. Charles Tapper, he's a horrible owner. The coaching is still a big problem here. In this offseason, Charles Tapper, David Tapper, excuse me, that's his first name. David Tapper, he's going to have to be very, very crucial on what he's going to do this offseason when it comes to the draft. Who's going to, what personnel he's going to hire, and what weapons he can also probably sign as free agents for Bryce Young. Because honestly, it's starting to look unacceptable. Bryce Young, he has a lot of potential to be a good quarterback, but he just doesn't have the team around him. And then with the Jacksonville Jaguars, lots at stake for them for the division, man. A lot is at stake for them to, win this AFC South, hopefully get some home games with them. We still don't know the status on Trevor Lawrence when he's going to come back, but as for now, CJ Beathard, I think he is the starter for next week's game. So hopefully the status with Lawrence is a little bit better, and hopefully Lawrence, he has another bounce back, especially come playoffs.
Considering, their matchup does look easy, like you said, a win and they're in to win the division, but nothing seems to come easy for Jacksonville this season, and obviously they got 2 really good teams on their tail, so we'll just have to wait and see for that. Moving on to expected to be the game of the week here in the Dolphins and the Ravens, and yet another statement win for Baltimore. 56-19. Obviously, I did have some praise for the Dolphins defense, and clearly all of that went out the window. By the end of this, I know they scored 21 in the fourth, so it was kind of just I guess the Dolphins were just out of it by this point. But well, what can you say? You gotta say Lamar has probably wrapped up MVP with this win, and just everyone. Yet again, they're probably the favorites, or not probably, they are right now the favorites to win the Super Bowl. I know you had them in the Super Bowl think yeah, that was your midseason little switch up to have them in the Super Bowl. Looking pretty good right now with, I mean, just everyone like, I mean, even we know we talk pretty good about Isaiah Likely, and he's kind of been slowing down the last couple of weeks, but in this game, got back in the end zone. We see Zay Flowers, 75-yard, beautiful 75-yard touchdown in this game, and I mean just as a whole, everything seems to be going perfect for the Ravens. And for the Dolphins, I guess that Tua narrative might be slipping back. If sometimes he can't win the game all on his own. I mean, even with the weapons, it looks like he had some struggle. I guess the loss of Jalen Waddle was definitely was a big factor, and obviously a bigger narrative here. The loss of Bradley Chubb is going to be huge for them. That's going to be a big blow for their playoff chances, now having to miss out on one of their top defensive players.
Yeah, regardless, this was a big statement win for the Baltimore Ravens with Lamar Jackson. Obviously he's not the MVP favorite. I can still make more argument for Dak Prescott. I don't care, but obviously what the fans want, it's going to be LeBron, and then obviously with Tua, starting to look a lot of concerns here for Tua, especially with the weapons and not being able to close out with hopefully with this win. And now moving on to another game, which kind of came out our expected, not expected our way, but CJ Stroud, he did get the start last minute. He did get the start with his Houston team, and oh boy, did they really raise the havoc on this Tennessee Titans team. I mean, Stroud, without a doubt, Stroud really turned his whole franchise around, obviously. And I already owned up to in the beginning of the season where I thought Stroud was going to struggle, and I know you called him succeeding. I already ate up my words from that beginning, but Stroud, he looked great coming back. I believe it was the concussion, the reason he was out, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so. Yeah.
So the concussion, for why he wasn't starting, didn't really seem to affect him anymore. He looked healthy against this Titans team. With the Titans team, that sure they were eliminated, but Will Levis started to pick it up for this team, but obviously the defense also played another big part. Obviously with Stroud playing, lowering the pressure on the defense. Really great to see. I mean, whoever had Houston on fantasy, especially on the championship, really did him some justice. But regardless of that, looking at the South, still a three-way tie. Nothing really much to say about this game, but obviously the Titans, they got a lot. This is another team where a lot of adjustments they've been made in the offseason, and start to see in the quarterback position of Will Levis, if they're going to roll with Will Levis, which I believe, they're probably going to roll with him come by next season.
Yeah, I mean, at least for next season, see what he can do. I mean, have an off season with him as the main guy, but I think you could definitely, at least give him a shot. He's definitely proven a good amount in the time he's been given. Now, of course, another big game for me this week. I called this upset. You were calling my bluff for a little bit, but the Steelers got it done here. They with this win for the Pittsburgh Steelers, with the Seahawks loss, the Rams finally do get back into the playoffs with this one. Lots of thanks to Mason Rudolph and that entire team. And I mean, a lot to talk about for the Steelers offense that looked like, they were just playing for Mike Tomlin's record, but I mean, we definitely had a lot to look into. I mean, first off, you're playing in let's call it a meaningless fantasy game, and you come to me to see who you should start. I told you, George Pickens. George Pickens was someone you needed to start. I did not trust this Seahawks defense. And what did I tell you? George Pickens, sure doesn't get into the end zone, but he absolutely goes over 130 on 7 receptions and
dropped 20. So
yeah, exactly. A big thing to which I think you could have got some help elsewhere, but at least I got you with that call. But just in general for the Steelers offense, I mean, Najee Harris going into a bit of a resurgence in this game specifically. I know we've kind of seen Jaylen Warren turn into that number one back as of late, because deservedly so. He's definitely been better on the production side of things, but Najee with 122 yards and 2 touchdowns, definitely making his case. That a lot of people were kind of really starting to doubt on him, really expecting him to maybe even not even be on this team by next season. And I think this is a game that he really needed, just to show out the capability he really does have. And we'll wait and see what Pittsburgh's offense can do. They still do have a shot. You never know with Baltimore maybe resting their starters, already wrapping up that number 1 seed. We'll see. And for the Seahawks, they're still alive for the playoffs, but they do lose the chance to control their own destiny. Now they really are going to need some help elsewhere in the league, and we'll wait and see. gonna looks a little better for me keeping a division rival out of the playoffs.
Yeah, obviously, the Pittsburgh Steelers have a great shot at the playoffs. Obviously, here in the Pickens, still continue that streak alive. Obviously, with my saltiness aside, he still will have a back-to-back good game. So that's nice to see that Pickens is finally getting going for this Pittsburgh team. And I'm moving on to another game that was probably one of the boring ones this week. No, not really interesting here, but the Chargers and the Broncos. I mean, with the whole Russell Wilson situation, he was benched. And then with the Chargers, this was just a really boring quarterback battle. I mean, I believe the Chargers were still in this game combined the fourth quarter. Yeah, really, there's just nothing really to really talk about this game at all. It was just it was just a boring game at all. I mean, sure, it was a close game, so I guess it was kind of, I guess getting on your heels, I guess you could say, for these two teams coming to the fourth quarter, if the Chargers could, make a possible comeback. But obviously that wasn't the case. Denver still got it done. Obviously, really the whole thing with Denver now is just, the whole thing with Russell Wilson and how Denver's going to improve this team this offseason with how everything's going on. I want to know how we talked about. If they want to improve this team, they're going to have to pay a lot of money if they want to get at least some decent free agents to bolster both sides of the ball. Obviously, that offense is going to need, a little bit of help with that O-line and that defense. May need a little bit of secondary help to at least assist Patrick Surtain just a little bit. But, this game really is just a boring game. Same thing with the Chargers. A lot of adjustments. These are two teams where a lot of crucial adjustments need to be made for this offseason in order for both these teams, especially for the quarterbacks. I know, let alone Herbert, for him, get him a good coach, get him some, a little bit of help there with personnel, and Herbert can actually see his true potential with the Chargers team.
Yeah, I mean, you put it simply. I mean, for the most part, it was a very boring game. I will give you that, but hey, it got pretty tight close. I mean, the Chargers did have a chance that onside kick did get a little close, but of course the Broncos did pull it out. I mean, like we said, this was going to be more of a moral victory for the Broncos here, and I mean, it is. I mean, hey, it helps the Chargers. I believe this puts them at 6 for their draft stock. Wait and see if they actually do something good with that pick. Of course, another game that was really expected. I mean, probably expect to be a little closer coming into the end of it. I mean, the Bengals just absolutely choked this game away. I hate to see it from Jake Browning. I mean, they went into this, I believe they were up 17-13 at halftime, and the Chiefs defense did their job, shut out the Bengals in the second half, and offensively, nothing was going for the Chiefs. I mean, they would drive a little bit, but the drives would stall out little by little, and Harrison Butker becomes the hero in this game. But I mean, putting up all 12 points in the second half, just a phenomenal, at least special team showing for the Chiefs here. I mean, it's in a season that they've really been, nothing. I wouldn't say nothing, because they're still 10-6 and division champions for the 8th consecutive season. Just unheard of in this league. But just the one. They're getting it done, as much as their offense is struggling, as much as, sure, I'll give it to them for their defense in this game. Their defense definitely did step up, but it's nice for them to at least, in a game that, in a time right now that nothing seems to really fully be clicking, they do still find a way to win, and it's a very important win at that.
Yeah, regardless this defense of the Kansas City Chiefs, with how, mediocre they could have been this past couple of years, it's finally really stepping up for this Chiefs team where the offense can produce. Still a lot of concerns to draw, come to playoffs since they did clinch the division. Those drops, 40 drops, leading the league in drops, it's going to be very crucial come playoff time. So once again, a lot of adjustments. I'm going to keep saying this with these teams. Some adjustments, they're going to have to be made if the Chiefs looking like first round exits for the most part. And now closing it off with the Sunday slate with a game that was really a lot on the line here. The Green Bay Packers. Jordan Love, he's looking great, man. My prediction of Jordan Love from this offseason is finally starting to actually look better after he had that slight little drop off, mid-season. But he's looking phenomenal. He really led this team. Sure, it was a very lackluster Minnesota team, but really the quarterback position was really screwed him over. But they were still fighting for that spot, and this game would just win and you're in. And that's basically what it is here. And if, from the way everything is, Cowboys right now, if the season were to end, Cowboys would be hosting the Green Bay Packers. Sure, I get a little PTSD from there for how many times Aaron Rodgers owned us and all this shit. The 2016 game. I still get a lot of PTSD from that, but this is still a very different Green Bay Packers team, But anything can happen, especially with how weird the season is. But it was really nice to see Jordan Love. He's finally stepping up for this Green Bay team, and a lot to show here. Finally, he's gonna be great in these next couple of years for this Green Bay team. And then for Minnesota, losing Kirk once again, it's coming back to bite them. Nick Mullins or Jaren Hall. Jaren Hall, he really couldn't do anything at all. And obviously, this Minnesota team is really not looking well. And obviously, Justin Jefferson, you gotta feel for him. He's not, obviously career wasted there. You're really not going to do anything at all. And obviously, contract's going to come by sooner or later. So really a lot to see for this Minnesota team. Obviously, not much to say here other than, the Green Bay Packers really put on a show, and Jordan Love, he's going to be really great for this Packers team in the future.
Yeah, just a phenomenal win for the Packers here. That does set up a win and in situation against the Bears at Lambeau next week. Definitely going to be a great one to watch there. So obviously that wraps up our Week 17 recap. Christian, with looking into our predictions, I go into Week 18 with a 4-game lead. I get a little boost in there with that Steelers and Seahawks game there. So, well, I mean, hey, there's so much to look into.
I will come back Week 18. I will come back Week 18. Sure. Just watch.
Well, of course, we're not going to do our predictions in this video because nobody knows who's playing in Week 18. There's so many situations, who's resting, who's actually playing. So we're gonna break this up into, we're going to see if this morphs into something we do for next year, but we're going to break this into its own Week 18 preview. Probably won't be that long. We're probably not going to go too in-depth on every game, but definitely gonna be a little more in-depth in our little just talk about our game and a highlight. So stick around for that. Video will probably come out, could come out Friday or Saturday, since I know we do have two games on Saturday. So look out for those. Of course, that wraps up our video. Going into the new year, hopefully we'll see a lot more. Definitely got to see a good amount of growth on this channel. Hopefully we see a lot more of that. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you like and subscribe. We'll see you back here for the new and improved Week 18 preview.